Welcome to the 10 Acre Woods. This is the second video of the week. My last video was a little too long and I figured best to split it up into two episodes. So let's go on in and I'll tell you all about it. So something else that happened this summer, just a little recap, we did and have rescued deer in the past. Now we had one we called, of course, Bambi, and Bambi came in. You may have seen in some of the other videos I have done a little bit of recap, but this one came in. The mother was hit out on the highway and killed. So the little one came into the yard. We were just getting our fencing built up and came in and got caught within the fence line, the incomplete fence line. So got in, couldn't get out. We went out, we secured it, put it in a kennel, and we did a little bit of investigation and found out that the deer, the mother was actually killed on the highway out here. And the little one was frantic and ran into our property. Instead of hanging out on the highway, which was good, it did have some scars on the face. And we managed to continue to bottle feed. It was still wanting the bottle fed. And then what happened was it hung around, and we have deer that naturally go throughout our property. And one morning Tara got up and looked, and Bambi was in the fenced-in area. Now, deer came along, and there was some interest at the fence line. So we opened up the fence, let her out. She wandered around with them. They checked each other out. The deer left, and Bambi came back into the pen. So it was like, okay, well, we'll try again. And sure enough, the next day, the deer did come along again. We opened up the gate, reintroduced them, watched them. Now, unfortunately, I don't have any footage of that. It would have been nice to have some footage. But I'm learning, and moving forward, I'm going to be filming everything. And this was quite a few years ago. This was 7 years ago, I think it was. We watched, and sure enough, she headed off into the bush with the other ones. Now, about a month later, we noticed them at the back of our property, or at the back, just back behind the house. And one of the deer had, or a bunch of the deer had come back. And we noticed that Bambi was one of them. So successfully reintroduced Bambi back into the wild. Now, what had happened this spring was we had another one came in, and this one was called Denny. Now, Denny was brought in by somebody who used to work with natural resources. There is unfortunately no deer rescue in Manitoba. Now, there are some reasons that I've heard. Some are that deer are indigenous to certain regions, and those deer can't be mixed in with other deer in other areas due to possible different viruses that each colony, we'll call it, of deer that they have. So these were local deer. They were to this area. We didn't want to lock them up. For safety reasons, initially we brought Denny in and assessed, but eventually she went outside into our larger area, monitored her, bottle fed her. She actually still had the umbilical cord on her when she came in.
What are you doing, bud? How old are you now? You're like 6 weeks, 2 months? 2 months old? I think she's doing pretty good. She just needs a mama figure. We're waiting around for the deer to come through. Hey? Hey? Yes. You're just relaxing, chewing your cud, aren't you? Yeah, silly girl. All right, we'll see you later.
Now, what was interesting later was I was filming a regular episode for YouTube, and I was with the goats, with Billy and with Carl, and we were doing a little spot there, just checking them out, going through a few things. And to my surprise, Denny came into frame.
Carl and little Billy. Hey, you hanging out with your dad? These guys, I always miss it on film, but I'm up on the deck and I'll see these guys playing, and he's a little pushy. And that's not going to work, is it? Hi, Denny. You want to come in on this? I can't publish you right away. No. Have to wait until you're out. Yes. Out on your own. Hey, Denny. Oh, poor little baby. So Denny, we bottle fed, as you can see. Trying to suck my earlobe. Denny's now off the bottle. Actually, Denny named her Denny first because we thought she was a boy, but she is a girl. So the visiting kids called her Bambi.
Now, I didn't want to post anything with Denny on social media, just because Denny is a wild deer, and we didn't want a bunch of publicity about that. So we wanted to, take it easy, take it one step at a time. People that did come and visit the farm did get to see Denny. We asked that no pictures be taken, just because we didn't, we're still unsure of the regulations as to deer rescue in Manitoba. I know there are other provinces across Canada that do deer rescue, and I'm not quite sure why not in Manitoba. So we saw the need for rescuing Denny, and we decided to help her out the best we could. In calling around, we found that the only thing that can be done is they come out and they put the animal down. So we figured we'd give her a fighting chance. I think the idea is they don't want people to be stealing deer from wildlife and bringing them in. And they just won't make it on their own. They need to be wild animals. They are wild animals. And that brings me up to another point. Deer, if you find deer in the forest or in the bush, let's say you're going for a walk, and you see one or two small young deer sitting on the side, maybe on the bush line, and you go over and they'll remain there. You can get actually pretty close to them. Best just to leave them. They're likely not abandoned. What happens is the mother will she'll have her young, and then she'll have them in a particular area. Then she'll go off and she'll forage for food. She'll come back in the evening and in the morning to feed her young. So you want to make sure you leave them where they are. If you're concerned at all, you can monitor them. One thing that was mentioned is if you live in the area and you have some flour, you could put flour around the young and come back the next day and see if there's any disturbance in there. You could also take a picture of the area and the grass just to see if there's any movement around there. But leave the deer where it is unless you find a mother that was hit by a vehicle or shot. Best just to leave that deer where they are. So in moving forward, Denny, we wanted to get her out, and we put her outside the fence line. We have some deer around. They've been a little sparse this fall. So we decided, because we're right near a highway, we talked to a few people, and there is somebody that's south of us, probably about 45 minutes south. They live in the bush, they live away from highways, and not a lot of traffic. So we took Denny down there, and of course she's a photographer, and she had to take some pictures of Denny with her kids. And I've been asking her, or Tara's been asking her about getting some video with the deer, because it has been successfully reintegrated. They have a lot of deer in the area, and Denny ended up taking off with them. So she's seen them a few times coming back. It's a regular herd. I think it's a herd. There's probably a special name for it. We'll call it a herd. That herd is indigenous to that area, and she often gets them coming through her property. So she's seen Denny on a number of occasions, and she is now fully back in the wild. So that's wonderful news. So that's it. That's all I have for you today. Until next week, take care, and we will see you then. Bye-bye.